time to start. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yep. It's not fun. 5:59.
I'll share it. Coach Bentley. And I have
Good evening, everyone. We're about to start this meeting of the Sumner County Board of Education for, what is tonight? December 7th? Calm down here, calm down here. Good evening, everyone. We're about to start this meeting of the Sumner County Board of Education for December 7th, 2021. Before we do, I'm going to stand for a moment of silence and follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag. Anyone who would like to join me, please feel free to do so. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. First item on the agenda is call to order, so we call it to order. And next item is roll call. Mr. Johnson, I'm sure you have the roll. Yes, sir. All righty. Next item on the agenda is adoption of regular agenda. Approval of the regular agenda is presented. Motion approved by Mr. Daniels, second by Mr. Wise. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is adoption of consent agenda. Is there a motion? Motion approved by Mr. Wise, second by everybody, second by Ms. Hayes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is consideration of minutes, discussion and interaction regarding the minutes of the November 16th regular meeting. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion approved by Mr. Gregory, second by Mr. Wilkerson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is recognition and hearing of delegations, and we'll turn that over to Vice Chair Ms. Hayes.
Thank you, Chairman Brewer.
All right, I think we have some state championship soccer players in this room. All right, Lady Hawks, y'all come on down. Coach.
Look at these great girls.
Woo!
Go. Show us yours. You got really bright, smart girls. You got beautiful girls, and you got very athletic, strong women. Congratulations. The coach of this great team is Jason. Coach Jason Bentley. Your assistant coaches are Megan, is it Rewa, right? And Mickey Oaks. And are they here? Your assistant? There y'all are. Hey. And I missed one. And Emma. Good job coaching. Congratulations, girls. And I know that you're going to have a spokesperson for you girls, just to share a little bit about your journey and just the discipline I know and the perseverance that it takes to compete at this level and to win a state championship. Tells me a lot about who you are. On top of your studies, because Darren, come on down, Darren. Don't you sit back there in the back of the room. Principal Darren Frank, I mean, your workload, your study load is not light. It is heavy. And you do that, and you do that well, and then you, I say perform, you compete on a stage on a state level and win a state championship. So just the ability to be able to do all those things and to do them well just says a lot. It tells me a lot about your future successes in life. I believe team teaches us a lot when we work together as a team toward a common goal. And I think that's just one of the basic foundations for life, is to work together as a team to get to that goal. So I just commend you on behalf of the Board of Education. We're so proud. We're so proud of you girls. So I'm gonna let one of your players share. And what's your name?
Mary.
Mary. Mary is going to share a little bit. She may embarrass y'all a little bit too, I think. Tell some stories.
Hi, I'm Mary, as she said, and a junior and a captain on the Lady Hawks. And first of all, I'd love to thank the Sumner County Board of Education for recognizing us tonight. Having the support of the county and our surrounding schools really means a lot to us, and especially this year, because I don't know if y'all knew, but the state tournament was in Chattanooga, not closer to home in Murfreesboro. So knowing that we had the support from our surrounding counties or from our surrounding schools in the county really meant a lot to us to know we were playing for not only Merrill Hyde, but for our entire county. But anyways, I just wanted to share one of the things that I think is most important and special of our many traditions that we have on this team, being creating a team theme. So at the start of every season, we create a team theme to kind of act as a guide to keep our minds on the right track and to achieve the accomplishments that our team is capable of reaching. So our theme holds us accountable, and this year it was faster, higher, stronger. So we can take this theme not only and apply it literally, but in that we had to be faster, higher, and stronger than our competition to win. Especially being a team comprised of many underclassmen, we really had to get a leg up and be stronger than them to win. But also it can be applied in a deeper meaning because we had to be higher than a lot of our circumstances this year, still dealing with the relaying circumstances from COVID and also lots of unexpected injuries. But no, we did. We had like 8 girls out at one point this year. But we also had to be stronger on the field than whatever might be holding us back outside of our lives in soccer. So I'm proud of each and every single one of you girls on our team, because you can see in every single one of our games that we played and all of our wins that whatever might be holding us back in our lives outside of soccer, we took that away and it led us to victory. But without our team chemistry, the phenomenal coaching, and the support from our school and the county, we would not have been able to do it. So I thank you guys for recognizing us tonight.
Okay, Jeremy, I think those medallions got handed off to. Oh, Megan, good girl. Okay. You can name them. I think I got sent last year's roster, so this doesn't even matter right here.
We know whose mistake that was, right? Just a couple of things. I would like to say thank you, obviously, for having us tonight. And this was my 10th year with the Lady Hawks, and, the program doesn't get to be where it is without a strong administration. And that goes back to Principal Schreiner, and then obviously Principal Frank. And then also the 2 great ADs I've had in my time with Kyle and Corey Craighead. So it's a program that's built, with their support first and foremost, as well as the parents. The Lady Hawks were 18-2 this year, which is a school record. We led the state in scoring across all classifications this year. Being our 5th year at the state tournament, it was pretty impressive to continue to pound on that rock and for it to eventually break for them. This group of girls also, has a 3.7 overall GPA across the board. So the academics and the athletics for us do go hand in hand. And it is preached and it is important. So they've accomplished a lot. They've earned it. And I'm proud of every one of you. Congrats. Okay, so just walking around. Julia Lewis. Sydney Rewa. I guess I could give you the grades. Senior Captain Julia Lewis. Junior Sydney Rewa. Tessa Hudgens. Reagan Hudson. Carly. I said I would give grades and I'm going to stop. So, Mia Maxwell. Peyton. Karina Steiner. Hadley. Marshall. Eliza Dole. Sophia Curry. Still in the brace, I see, with Presley Altapeter. Who's up there? I can't see her. Ava's over there. Ava Wee. Way, sorry, we get that one wrong. Who's next? Chelsea. Chelsea Huff. I see Bella and Lindy and Bella. So, and Mary McElwain. Sorry, I get worse with names every year. Good job, Mary.
If anybody would like, parents, y'all get pictures, Coach, Darren, y'all get in there. And we may have to do like a group, you know, some of you girls, y'all know how to pose for the pictures. Some of you get down. Darren. Congratulations. And while I've got the mic here at the podium, I know that we have had, I think the last meeting, we had some Leadership Sumner candidates. They're going through this year, and I think tonight we have some. If you all would stand, we appreciate you coming. I know it's part of your curriculum is to come to a board meeting, but thank you for taking time to come.
Congratulations, Lady Hawks. Great job. Great job. Does anybody got anything they'd like to say before they leave, before they get out of the, all right, no red lights on? Proud of them, absolutely. Absolutely. We're still under recognition of hearing and delegations, and the next one is Joanna Daniels. Miss Daniels, if you want to come down and give your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to speak on the HS curriculum guide. And as usual, you know, direct your comments to the chair and come on down.
Okay, can you hear me okay? Okay, wonderful, thank you so much. Okay, so Joanna Daniels at, you want my address, correct? 152 North Shadow Haven Way, Hendersonville, 37075. Okay, that's all you needed from me, right? Name and address? Okay. So I wanted to talk about the discussion or action regarding the 2022-2023 high school curriculum guide. 98 pages, wow. So I got through a majority of them, but I really, as soon as I actually turned to the first page, the purpose, I was already a little bit taken back, and it said to provide the guide for the instructional programming designed to help students reach the desired outcomes of the Tennessee academic standards. Sumner County High School's curriculum programs support student mastery of the Tennessee academic standards while reflecting unique community values. And that took me a little bit by surprise, because I'm not quite sure what a unique community value is. And so I was trying to find the definition of the unique community value, and I really couldn't find anything as to what that really meant. And so I went back to what I spoke on last month, which was the 21st century study skills and behavior, which, you know, defines, I guess, the character in elementary schools and everything like that. And so I'm assuming that that's maybe what you guys are coming from. And because in equity and access, you know, teachers and school leaders ensure equity, and I thought equity, that's a Common Core thing. And so so I did a little research, and I found out that Sumner County got a Race to the Top grant in 2013, and I didn't know what a Race to the Top grant was, and it was actually the Barack Obama grant that as long as you implemented Common Core, you got a possibility to apply for Race to the Top. And 21st century study skills and behavior is actually a Common Core thing that's still being implemented in Sumner County schools, and is still being, you know, graded 3, 2, or 1. And so I was a little bit confused as to why that's still being here, and I can only assume that that is also what is unique community values. And then I saw under mathematics that the Bridge Mathematics course is recommended for students who have not scored a 19 or higher on the ACT mathematics. So I looked into that, and that's Edmonton product. And I looked at the people who are on the council, the product council, and one of them happened to be Chris Porter, which is a former Apex CEO, which Apex equals Common Core. And then also Michael Latch, which is Chicago Public Schools. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I thought it was kind of funny that Illinois is 32%, and Tennessee is 39%, and 39 being the good, better than the 32%. So I was kind of curious as to why you guys would adopt something that is actually being on the council. The person on the council is the Chicago Public Schools, which is actually lower in math scores than Tennessee scores. And so I was a little confused as to why that would be to help people bring their scores up when obviously it's not doing very well and it has Common Core foundations. So just a little curiosity on all of that, and just wanted to bring that to your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. All right, let's see. Next item on the agenda is matters involving council. We have none of that. Thank the Lord for that. Next item on the agenda is reports from the directors. Dr. Phillips.
All right. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. It's always a fun, joyous time of the year. Let me have one. Will you take one and pass it down? I do want to talk just a second about some information. I think I mentioned this back when we did zoning for Liberty Creek, that we would probably have a steady stream of information that we push out to parents, and also place on our website, and then also through the website pages that the principals of Liberty Creek have already developed, and they've been sharing information across social media platforms already. I've seen a bunch of that, and they're doing a really good job with that to keep parents and future Liberty Creek Wolves informed about kind of how things are going. But we did have a couple of things here that we wanted to go through. One, we had some important dates and just things that we think are probably part of additional FAQ, and these will kind of over time, I think, will add to these, probably add to, drop off, revise some as we go through. We're trying to make sure that we communicate with parents about important dates. And so we'll just start at the top. February 10th and 11th, the high school, Dr. Holt and the administrators will host some student meetings to discuss registration information and provide course catalogs, which we do that at every school. And if you have had a high school student, you know that. We start pretty soon selecting courses for the upcoming school year. So we can get students registered and schedules set prior to us leaving school in May. And so that process starts pretty early in the high school world. So we're just trying to say here on February 10th and 11th that we're going to host meetings to discuss that registration information and course catalogs with students that will be going to Liberty Creek. And students that are zoned for Liberty Creek, they don't need to complete that process at their current school. So if they're at Station Camp High or Beach or Gallatin High, they don't need to complete a registration process there and then turn around and do one again in February for Liberty Creek. So just trying to make sure parents understand that. February 15th through the 25th is when they will actually officially register at Liberty Creek High School, which is similar to the timeline. Might be a little bit later, but it's very similar to the timeline that we run in other high schools. It's always happening in February timeframe prior to spring break, where they're trying to select classes for the upcoming fall. February 17th through the 24th, all three levels of administrators and staff will host community events and help answer questions, give students opportunity to meet principals and those types of things. I think that's really important. We've got them at Beach High, Gallatin High, and Station Camp High. First week of March, we'll have current 8th graders, rising freshmen, current 8th graders who will be going to Liberty Creek next year. They'll register at their current middle school, but we'll do that at specific times and dates for just those students, in other words, that are going to Liberty Creek. So we'll handle them separately, but at their current school, just at a different time than the other students that will stay in that zone school. The last one down on this page, Liberty Creek Lottery for out-of-zone applications. I think we've had this discussion. I know Ms. Andrews and I have had it, but legislation changed. I think you asked that question back when we were talking about zoning, final zoning, and I mentioned, hey, we're probably going to be some changes. It's already passed. The changes are probably coming. They may be later in the session before that's actually changed. So we're kind of in between, but we're going to go ahead and probably comply with what we believe the spirit of the law is as it currently reads. So long story short, we will have some open seats that we feel like we will be able to fill at Liberty Creek High School only. Okay, not the elementary, middle, but the high school. And so we are looking to run a lottery process, have parents apply for those seats. Whether they're 9th grade, 10th grade, or 11th grade, probably won't have any in 12th grade because most 12th graders probably will stay where they're at. Or if they're zoned for Liberty Creek and choose to go, then obviously that's perfectly fine. But probably focus more of those slots on the the 9th grade freshman side, just because that ensures that out-of-zone transfer through the lottery. It ensures that they would be able to stay there all 4 years. Okay, and it also eliminates a lot of the eligibility questions. And that's another sheet that we've got here that we're going to post for parents too. But it kind of eliminates having to worry about if you've started your eligibility clock at your currently zoned school and then you weren't rezoned, how that affects your eligibility. So it's easier, obviously, for freshmen than it would be for a 10th grader or 11th grader if they've already started their clock at another school, as far as how we consider TSSAA rules, and it impacts students that are out of zone. So you see some important dates there. We're going to post this for parents, actually probably just as soon as this meeting's over. But we would have an out of zone lottery beginning January the 17th through February 4th. We're trying to make sure that parents know now that there's going to be an opportunity for them to do that if they choose to for their student. We're going to run the lottery just like we do for Union. Union STEM and Demonstration School here in Gallatin. It'll be the same process. So we're familiar with that. And the company that we're using, they will actually notify the parents of the students that are selected in that open lottery. So all of those processes will look and feel the same as parents that currently do that same process for Union or for Merrill Hyde. A different standard for the different schools, but certainly obviously with the requirements to apply for Merrill Hyde. For this lottery, it would just simply be the same requirements that we have. Prove you're a Sumner County resident, and you can get into the lottery. Okay. So I just want to make sure you are aware of that. It's going to give parents an opportunity to link straight to information about the lottery, and then we'll run the lottery for those open seats. We're trying to finalize, I know some of you probably will ask, well, how many seats will there be? We're trying to finalize and just make sure by name through the high schools that we have all the students that we know will be zoned to Liberty Creek, just so we're making sure that our number's solid, and then we'll kind of back into the number that we're going to need or we're going to have available for freshman and sophomore and junior. Obviously, I think we'll have more slots for freshmen than we will for 10th graders, sophomores, or juniors, just because of what I mentioned earlier. The back of that page, we talk about school start times. We have always said that we would probably push that information out in January, but we'll talk about that. I'm hopeful to have that information from the Transportation Department. I know they've been working on it. I hope to have that for the January study session here. That's what kind of the goal that I've given them. So hopefully we'll have that. I know a lot of parents are asking because that impacts families in the mornings and afternoons and all those sorts of things. So we're trying to make sure that we get that set so parents know. The zoning maps, I think we already have posted those so parents can go on and find whether their current address by typing it in, whether that's actually in the zone or not in the zone. And we haven't had as many questions about that once we posted after zoning. We posted the maps. We've had a few that were very close to the line and those sorts of things, and they've reached out to us. We've tried to clarify that, but most of them, I think, have been able to find it just by looking at the maps. If you look at this one's more about athletics.
Before
And
you
of course-
go to that, may I ask something?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure it's fine.
I want to know, you mentioned we're using a company for the lottery. Why are we doing that?
Well, it's we've done that for quite some time with Merrill Hyde, Magnet, with Union, and then now with this particular situation. I think the easiest way to understand it is they have the platform already set up, so we can utilize all of their templates where we have parents provide information. We also honestly like them having total control over the process of selection in that lottery, because we don't have anything to do with that. So it's computer driven, and the further we stay away from it, the less uncertainty about someone here putting their thumbs on the scale makes a difference. So we don't know who's, we don't know until they tell us who's been randomly selected. We don't know either.
How much does it cost?
We spend about $5,000 a year total. So it's a very low cost, in the scheme of things, it's a very low cost for the function that they perform. And they do a good job. So, Liberty Creek Middle and High School athletic guidelines, these are questions that are being asked too. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Daniels.
I've got a question about that in athletics, so I can wait till you're done.
Okay, you want me to go through this first?
Yep,
Okay,
yes,
all
sir.
right. So a lot of questions about athletics, and of course we follow TSSAA, and there are a lot of guidelines with them about who can play, and once you started your eligibility, and if you're rezoned for the district says you're rezoned to a new school, you're automatically eligible, but if you're not, then it has to be a change of residence, bona fide change of residence to be eligible, you lose a year, that sort of thing. So We felt like it was best to put this out, but we also are going to have some parent meetings around just athletics and have Mike Brown and there to answer questions. So we've put 3 here, January 10th, 12th, and 13th, where any of our impacted schools, high schools, if they have a parent has a student athlete, they can come and ask Mike, and we'll try to sort out any specific questions, because a lot of these get very specific questions for those families about eligibility. And then obviously, if there's something that we don't know the answer to, then we'll ask TSSAA. I know Mike's been in communication with them quite a bit just to make sure that we all understood what we thought we understood about the rule. Or the rules, and to make sure. But if you see, we've just kind of, I won't go through all those, but we've tried to lay out here some of what we feel like are the biggest questions out there about athletics and eligibility, and we'll post that up too. But main thing, two main driving factors. One, trying to communicate information about Liberty Creek with parents. I think that's great. It's going to continue because there are a lot of questions out there, and we'll try to answer them the best that we can. 2, that we're going to have some meetings out face-to-face with parents, give them an opportunity to talk to us about registration, but also talk to us about athletics and how that's going to work. Okay, and of course the questions we've already had, but the lottery that's new, somewhat new, or at least for us with a new campus, and we'll kind of let you know how that's going to work too.
Mr. Daniels.
Yeah, just 2 quick questions. The first one on the out-of-zone applications, pretty sure the answer to this is yes, because I think we've talked about it. But if you get in, say I want to get into Liberty Creek, and I get in, then I'm in Liberty Creek until graduation duration.
Yes, sir.
It's not a 1-year thing.
Yep, under the way the new law is written, if you are admitted as an out-of-zone applicant, then you are afforded the opportunity to finish that sequence in the grade sequence in that school. So for Liberty Creek High School, if we allow freshmen out of zone, we have to make accommodation at that school for that student until they graduate.
Okay. The second question is on athletics, and I get the if I decide to go to Liberty Creek out of zone, then I'm ineligible for that first year if I've played somewhere else. I know seniors, they have the option to stay at their current school. There may be cases where, I know I've got some younger kids. I've got a 6th grader and a 4th grader. And I'm sure there are families across the county that are in similar situations where maybe they have a senior and a sophomore or something like that. If that sophomore, say, plays football and they're able to stay out of zone, stay at Station Camp, if there's spots there, will they still be eligible at Station Camp, or do they lose that eligibility? Because I know that would be a question as well.
Yeah, so let's pull that apart. One, if they're a senior and they've been participating and they're eligible at the school, and the school district gives them the right to stay at their current school for their senior year, they're still eligible. So it's a win-win for them. If they're zoned for Liberty Creek and they decide to go to Liberty Creek, they are eligible.
Yep.
But if they decide to stay at their current school, their clock for eligibility is at that school, so they would still be eligible. So
Yeah,
they kind of have. My understanding is they kind of have a win-win either way.
Yeah, I thought that was true. I just know there's probably some families out there with some siblings that have senior age kids that may be looking to stay, if possible, in their space to allow, and I just want to make sure that we address that as well.
Yep. So eligibility from TSSAA is not simple, but in its simplest form, they're really concerned about what you did as a 9th grader by sport. And so what we call clock, your eligibility clock starts the first day you practice, organized practice in any sport as a freshman or as a new student in that particular school. And then once that occurs, then if you are not moved by the school district by rezone, you're a bona fide residential move to that zone, then you're bumped for a year from the last date of participation in that sport. Meaning, it gets complicated. But you could have played football at one school, but not played basketball or baseball, and then move, in a non-bona fide way, and you would be a year from the last date that you played or participated in football, but not baseball. Does that make sense? It's very weird. It gets kind of somewhat complicated, but it's just tedious about sometimes, it's why we want to have parent meetings, because people can ask us and we can say, well, what's your specific situation, and we can try to sort it out. To answer your question about the 10th grader would be eligible at the school where they,
Attend next year.
yeah.
All right, cool, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Mr. Gregory?
Mr. Chairman, may I direct this to Dr. Phillips?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you. If you went over this, I didn't hear you. Have the parents or the students been notified at this time where they are zoned?
We have not mailed the letters. Typically, when we have a rezone, sometimes we will mail a letter that says, hey, you've been rezoned. We did that in one big rezone several times ago. We haven't done that, but we have tried to make the information available so so they know if they live in that area, it's pretty widely known that you're going to be rezoned.
I haven't heard of anything.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty widely discussed. Now I know that impacted schools are having that conversation because a lot of those parents are asking principals about it, teachers about it. So I think that information certainly is out there. But as we get closer, it's going to be like, in the high school, it's a little bit more difficult with athletics and other things, but we're trying to make a name by name. So I know if there are 311 students at Station Camp High School, Mr. Crook and I know the 311 names. Does that make sense? Just because you got to get almost that granular to make sure you have your number, and everybody kind of knows the names and the students, and we can make a good transition for those students between schools.
That all, Mr. Gregory? Is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Moving on, next item on the agenda is new business, discussion and interaction regarding the 2022-2023 high school curriculum guide. Would that be you, Mr. Langford?
I think we had somebody going before us,
We do.
Mr. Brewer.
I didn't tell you to that. Melanie, come on up here, Melanie. We were going to have Miss Melanie Webster and her. But I know Keisha's telling me no, she's not talking. I know.
Well,
Going to talk to us about the great things that are happening down in their department. They take care of so many needs in this county that people don't even know about. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on you, but they do. And this is the time of year when a lot of that happens, and we're grateful to be able to do that. But they're going to talk to us a little bit about some of the stuff that they do.
Thank you. Yes, we appreciate the opportunity to kind of highlight. But when Jeremy approached me to have the opportunity to kind of highlight and talk about what we're doing in our department, I didn't know I was going to be speaking on the same night as Mary. Mary did a fabulous job speaking as captain in front of a. So I thought, wow, that made me feel good. Had a little reminiscing about my high school. So, but I'm going to pass out something just to kind of give a little. If you'll pass this. Thank you. Keisha Ray is with me. She is our student support counselor. Y'all probably have heard her name around for our department. And also Kathy Groff. She is the family resource coordinator. And we work closely together. We collaborate a lot, probably 10, 20 times a day that we discuss cases and situations. But Keisha and I, we just had an influx the past couple of weeks. We've had several crises, referrals, with behavior issues, serious traumatic events that have occurred recently. And we sat down together and we were like, what is going on? What's happening? And then we realized this is 2020. 2020 is now showing its ugly head for us right now. We don't know what has happened or what occurred when our students were at home by themselves or when they were with their parents, we know they were away from school, they were away from their peers, they weren't on their normal routine. Who knows what happened? But we are now seeing the effects of that, and it's falling into our classrooms with the social groups that our students are in. So it's coming out now. So we're really seeing it. And they've been traumatic events. We have students, and I'll tell a little bit about that on our homeless situation, but just the traumatic event, I kind of gave us a definition of trauma. It's an emotional response to a terrible event. There's long-term reactions that include unpredictable emotions and behaviors, flashbacks, strained relationships, and actual acute physical symptoms. And so we're seeing that in the classroom. We're also seeing that it's academically affected our students. There's been a lot of research, and my research and studies came from Cornell University through a program that I'm in with crisis intervention. And they gave us studies that when a student is actually going through trauma or have been in a traumatic event, their IQ literally drops 15 points. There's tons of research behind that they did. So it actually drops 15 points, and their comprehension and processing speed is reduced. So I think we're now seeing those effects in the classroom. Behaviorally, we've had an increase in referrals and disciplinary hearing referrals. Emotionally, I'm sure our guidance counselors, they have reached out. They are really busy right now, helping students cope. So their coping skills are lacking, and students are regressing, and they have with negative reactions in their responses. So those are some areas where we know our students are suffering, and financially. Right now, through our Family Resource Center, we have a pantry, and we are serving 400 students right now, where we either deliver food to their door because they don't have transportation. It's like a box of food that we have. We also do weekend food packs, and we have monthly food packs. And I wasn't going to do it, but I got to do a shout out to Andy Brown. I got to do it. I got to do it. Andy, see, y'all don't know it. He does good things, wonderful things. Two things. He is housing, he probably doesn't even know what I'm about to say. The turkeys. He's going to house 19 turkeys for us. He's found a place for us so that we can give turkeys for families to have for Christmas. Yeah. So I had to do that shout out. So right now, too, we have 154 homeless families that we're working with. And there's a trend going on right now where families are living in cars. Like we're like, what's your location? Where are you living? It's a car, and it's in the Walmart parking lot typically. And they go to Walmart and they sleep there because, one, they allow it. Two, they have 24-hour access to a restroom, and they can, go get warm for a minute and come back. So they're staying in the Walmart parking lots. We have 20 families, not students, 20 families right now that are living in hotels or motels. Our Family Resource Center has also helped clothe 315 students, which is, at this time of year, is a 32% increase from last year. So, Kathy has worked tirelessly to help coordinate with our community. She's pulled in lots of resources in the community to help get us clothes. We're buying shoes for students, underwear, hygiene products. She has pulled all that in herself and has helped kids that weren't able to go to school because they didn't have clothes. She's clothed them through the Family Resource Center and has been able to send them to school with clean, acceptable, because they want to be like their friends. So, but we've already had a 32% increase just from last fall. I wanted to tell you about two families. We currently have a family that is living in a motel. It's in the Portland area, and she is a grandmother / great-grandmother, and DCS has blessed her with 9 kids. That they're her biological, her children, but they have placed her with 9 children. and they're all living in this one motel. She's tried to work, she's tried to get a job, tried to, to get a car, get transportation, and she can't do that 'cause she can't afford it. She can't afford to go to work because she can't afford daycare. But we have met with this family. We do best interest meetings, best interest determination meetings to see what they need, what their students are needing in school. We clothe them, we feed them, we help with emotional support if they need help with counseling. We assist with that, and we're helping her because if she falls apart, everybody else is really going to fall apart. So we have to give a huge support to her so that those kids that are our students are successful. They're in the elementary, middle, and high school in the Portland area. So that's an ongoing situation. I don't know if we're trying to help her find a place to get out of that motel, but our transportation department has been amazing, and they go pick these kids up, and then they drop them off at all their schools. We have another student, and if you would look on the back of your page, and I don't know if you can tell what that is, but it is a cart, and it has all the belongings of one family on it. It's got, their clothing, their shoes, everything that they own is on that cart. And we got a phone call from Venus Stewart, and a dad was on his way to a job interview, and his car broke down, or coming back from an interview, and his car broke down, and he couldn't pick his child up from school. So they were like, "Can you help us out? Go meet this dad with the student." So we helped. We went and met the father. We took the student to the father, and when we get to the car, we see all this stuff. Like, why do you have all this stuff in your car? And that kind of, red flagged us that they're homeless. They're living in that car. This is an elementary student that has hid it from us pretty good. I think he was having some issues at school that he was showing out in school, but we discovered they were living in the car. We got a community resource. I'll give a shout out to Aaron's, oh gosh, now I forgot it. Savior. Aaron's Savior Towing in Gallatin towed this car for us for free to Mooney's, and Mooney's did not question anything. They started working on the car. They helped this family out. They fixed it and said, we may get paid, we may not get paid, but we're going to help this man and fix his car. So they didn't have anywhere to stay. This was over Thanksgiving holiday, or the break, and the community pitched in, and we got some of our stakeholders are like, "I'm going to help this family." We put them in a hotel, and that's where this picture actually is. We're bringing their stuff in. This is at the Hampton in Gallatin, and they were there for a while, and then we moved them to sleep in. But the beautiful thing is that when we say someone's in crisis, and then we have children that don't have anywhere to live, our community steps up, and we have wonderful relationships with them. We make sure we send thank you cards and brag on them to other people all the time so that we can keep getting their help. But they really stepped up in all of these situations. They even the car broke down a second time, and they went back and fixed it again. So the second time, we sent the child was at school. The dad was waiting at Mooney's, and we had to go pick the child up, and we took him to the Mooney's, and the dad said, "Well, this is our home. I don't have my car. It's up on the racks, but can you take it down and let me sleep in the car tonight?" Because they didn't have anywhere to go. That was their home. And of course, Mooney's was like, "Oh, I can't do this." One, I guess they didn't want them sleeping on their property, but two, their hearts were so big they couldn't help it. They put them in their car and took them down to Econo Lodge and put them up for 2 nights until it was fixed, and they paid for it. So that was heartwarming to hear that they did that. And so this man now is did get the job on the interview that he went to, but couldn't get there because his car broke down. So they're still gonna, he called them and they're still gonna allow him to come to his job. I think he starts Friday. But in the meantime, the father took his own initiative and said, hey, I still need a place to stay. And it's cold outside right now. So he said, he kind of bartered with Econo Lodge and said, hey, I'll work if you give me board. So he and his son are kind of helping out around the motel, and they're allowing them to stay there. So we're still working with him on what our plan is going to be, because we do need to get them in some housing, but we're hoping that we can provide some stability for this young man. But we have a lot of cases like that going on right now, actually, but these are two where I just wanted to brag about how our community has really stepped up and has gotten involved. And then I want to do a shout out to Transportation, the other Andrew. Transportation has been amazing for us. When I say they work tirelessly, they do, and efficiently. They help to transport our displaced and transient families so that we can provide consistency where the students can continue to stay in their school that they've been at, where everybody loves them, everybody knows them. They also help with our foster care, and they change we're short-staffed already on our buses, but they change up routes, and they do what they can to help get these students that are in trauma in school. We have a situation going on in the White House area where a family's living in their car, and Transportation's made a special trip without other students where they are going to pick this child up in the Walmart parking lot to get that child to school. The car is broken down in White House. But anyway, they said, yes, we're going to change our route, go pick these kids up and get them onto school. So we're also developing a plan for that family. That's a current situation that's going on. So we're going to help them. So just to kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about, just kind of filling you in on some positive things that are going on and things that we're doing to help. Of course, we have the family resource where we can give out food, we get clothing, that's always available. No child in this county should be hungry, and no child in this county should not have clothes. Kathy has that place looking amazing over there at the Family Resource Center, and we can provide for any child in Sumner County with food and clothing. We also have our community stakeholders. We've all worked together to build those relationships. We have individual sponsors that help us with electric bills, that help us with car repairs, of course, and also deposits. Our main objective is two main objectives. The first one is we want to try and prevent somebody from becoming homeless, because once they do, it's harder to get them in somewhere. So if we can help a little bit with a rent or whatever, we have individual donors that will help carry them through. And we've had a lot of that going on because people have lost jobs because of COVID. But also, if we can get somebody that can find a place, we can help with the deposit too. And those individual donors help with that as well. We also, I know y'all have heard the buzzword about ESSER funds, that we've been able to get some funding from that, where we can pay for daycare. They allow us to help with that so that a parent can go to work, because daycare can be expensive. We can help with transportation, after school programs, tutoring so that they can get caught up, therapy services, and translators too. So that's going to allow us to pay for those to help these families. Also for Christmas, and I'm about to kind of wrap this up for us, right now we have 56 kids that are being sponsored through our attendance department. This comes from recruitment from our stakeholders that are sponsoring a child. We have retired teachers, retired principals. We have community churches and businesses that are sponsoring our students. So we got 56 kids that we are doing that through right now. Also, Generation Chiropractor in Gallatin. 4 years ago, she started a pajama giveaway because she said as a kid, every kid should get, as a kid, she got new pajamas every Christmas. She said, no, every kid should have a new pair of pajamas. So she goes out and buys like hundreds and hundreds of pajamas. I don't know how to PJs, and she gives them away. And so we get that here. They come to the board, and for those families that don't get it, that can't go to the chiropractor, they're allowed to meet us here, and we give out the pajamas to them. So, and this will be our 5th year doing that. And then also, the attendance department also, we set up a store here in the boardroom for parents to come shop for children that are not sponsored by somebody. So it's kind of a last minute, well, hey, I didn't get help, I need help. Or it's a last minute, if a guidance counselor or a school didn't know about a child to help them, they can refer them to us, and we actually have a store here with donated items that we let the parents shop. And we do that the last day of school, so we'll do it on the 17th this year. So with all that being said and everything that's going on, we collaborate with a lot of people, and we try and provide stability the best that we can for our students. Hoping that we can shed a little light at the end of their day. But at the end of the day, every child really wants to be just like the kid sitting next to them. And that's part of our job, is to make them kind of equal the playing field, so to speak. They want to be like their peers. And, most of their peers, they go home every night. They know where they're going to sleep. They know where they're going to get their food. They know that, they get the most up-to-date clothes or popular clothes or the latest trend. But our goal, when we think about it, is we want to try and equal that playing field so that every child can feel like they're like their peer. So thank y'all for listening. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to talk to y'all. And if you have questions.
And before you run off, I'm seeing lights go on everywhere. So Mr. Wilkerson, I saw his first.
Are they the families that you're helping? This grandmother with 9 children. Mm-hmm. Are you all helping her to get in contact with programs that will help her? I mean, God knows there's hundreds out there that are milking the system.
Right. I understand. Yeah.
But it would seem to me that a grandmother with 9 kids, she would be eligible for funding through some of the programs that are paying other people that can work to sit at home.
Right. She does get some additional funding for some of these children, especially if DCS places a child, they can get funding. But not all of the children have been placed there, but the court has ordered custody to this mother. And that you always don't get funding if it's a court order, but if a DCS removes a child from a home and places them, they can get some of that funding. The problem is it's hard to get into an apartment and sign a lease with 9 kids. Apartments won't take you. The food, she does get the waivers for vouchers for food, but also, and that's not always enough, but we also help with food too. And that's why we have our best interest determination meetings when we meet with families like this that have been, most of our families can be a 2 to 3 month kind of help, kind of a fix, but somebody that we're working with long term, we have these meetings to see where's our progress, where are we going, because our goal is to not let them be a McKinney-Vento family anymore. Our goal is to get them stable. So we have these meetings to see where our progress, if we need to pull in any services for the family.
So you all do help them sign up when they're eligible?
Yeah,
okay.
For 10, if they need the insurance, we help with that. If they need to get hooked up with any counseling, we help with that, help with transportation if needed. And we're trying to help her find a vehicle. And that's been trying. So that's one of our goals right now.
Ms. Webster, there's a 2-year waiting list for Section 8 housing.
Right.
So what she would be eligible for, we're waiting 2 years for her to even get into housing, because she's waiting for Section 8.
Yeah, that's been our roadblock, but And the apartments are a roadblock too. And then for her to also try and get into a home somewhere, to rent a home, the deposit, you know, that's hard on her to make that monthly bill or rent.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. Mr. Duncan?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I believe things happen for a reason sometimes. We had a guest earlier. They decided to leave early, but they picked up a phrase that kind of fits perfectly with this conversation, and that's unique community values. Want to make a political statement out of the introduction page for our curriculum guide. And this is one of thousands of examples of why Sumner County is unique. Because you've got stakeholders in our community that are helping people. They don't even know. I just wanted to address that because that really bothered me. As a conservative in this county, we don't have secret code words in our curriculum guide saying that we're liberal. And I just want to go out on that limb and shake it a little bit because as conservatives, we don't push back enough. And with somebody trying to get a foothold in here, because let's be honest, there's an election coming up. It's not fair for us to not defend what we've accomplished in this county, the values that are unique in our county. So, and I hate that they left because I'd like to set it to them because, again, thank you for what you do. This is a wonderful example.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Ms. Hayes?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Brewer, and well said, Mr. Duncan. Melanie, what are some of your immediate needs right now? You all take, Kathy, you take financial checks made to the Family Resource Center, right, Sumner County? And with this December shopping date, do you need more turkeys? What can we do? Do you need bicycles? Do you need, what can we do? I mean, individually, all of us up here and everybody in this room is probably thinking, what can I do to help this ministry? And it's a ministry. Tell us, and how do you get on a stakeholders list?
Keisha Ray.
Tell Keisha. Okay, so when there's rent due, when there's these kind of things that the community can help.
If they would send a check so that we could get it to Amanda and the financial people,
Okay.
so that it would go through the proper channels.
And it will help if you specify, if it's something very specific, it helps to be that, for that specific.
So put it in a memo, we can send it, it needs to go to the Sumner County Home Board.
We have a homeless account that several of our donors write checks to.
Okay.
I just turned one in today for $400 from Creekside Church in Bethpage. And so we take the funds out of that to help pay. Because there's some things that the grant or the ESSER funds allow us to pay for, and some things they do not. So like repairing for the car, that has to be donated funds. Helping someone to not become evicted, that has to come from donated funds. And, you know, when you see a child removed from their home or they know they're going to be evicted, it tears you apart.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, first I want to say thank you for what you're doing. You know, there's so many needs in our county, and you know, we always try to make sure that we provide the best we can, but it's hard for these kids to get an education and see opportunities from them when they're thinking about where am I going to get my next meal, or where am I going to sleep tonight. So I thank you for that. I know as long as I've been on board, Mr. Wise on a regular basis is always asking about the homeless population and those students. And so thank you, Mr. Wise, for always trying to make that a priority for us. You know, you know, one of the things that I think about as the holiday season is it always seems that as you get close to a holiday, you start thinking about these things. You know, you think about Christmas, you know, is it bicycles, is it things like that? But this isn't a holiday thing.
Right.
It doesn't end after Christmas. You know, if a kid if a family gets a turkey for the holidays, that's awesome that they have that meal and can celebrate it in even a small way. But they're still going to need another meal the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. And so I think it's important to remember that, I think as, a lot of us that have homes to go to and jobs to go to, and we're so busy all the time, it's easy to forget about the needs that are around us. And I would love for us to have updates on this, at least a couple times a year as we get into the summer, just as a reminder that, hey, it's not just a Christmas thing that these kids need clothes. They need coats because of the weather, but there's times throughout the year that there are going to be families that need rent, or families that need food on the table, or families that need a place to stay, or families that need a car to be repaired. So again, I thank you for what you do, and it makes it, you look around and to some of the comments earlier, you look at some of the comments that people make about, hey, the lunch wasn't good at school today. I think I'm going to send my kid, their lunch tomorrow, or the bus was a couple minutes late getting here and they had to stand at the door for a couple extra minutes. And I know those are big things for the parent in the moment, but there's so many bigger things out there to get worked up about and to be focused on and finding ways to make a difference. So thank you for what you're doing, because you're not just helping these families, you're helping these kids maybe have an opportunity to get food and clothes and transportation so that they can get the education that maybe down the road will help them be in a situation where they've got a home, or they've got a family, or they've got food that they can put on the table. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, and that's our goal. And our administration is amazing too. You made me think of something. We have a lot of administrators that are opening their doors and their locker rooms so that they can take a warm shower. Like especially our middle schools and our high schools, where elementary kids, they don't have typically locker rooms in our elementaries, but our administrators do not hesitate when we say, hey, can you do this for us? It's always an immediate, absolutely. So I commend them too. They really, really help us out.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Ms. Andrews?
Yeah, I think that Mr. Daniels and I were reading each other's minds apparently a little bit. But I was just thinking, it's really easy right now this time of year. We're all in the Christmas spirit and we want to give. And, we look at kids and we're all, just heartbroken the thought of them not opening something on Christmas morning, or, which is a reality, for some kids. But that is one time and one day a year, and there are needs throughout the year. What are, besides Christmas, what are some other busy times or so forth that y'all have, where that maybe even as a board or just, community groups that we're involved with or so forth, could plan to make sure that those needs during those times are also being met? That I don't know if, the start of the school year, I would assume would be a big one, but, is there quarterly times or so forth where we can say, hey, typically when the weather transitions or whatever it may be, this is a need for this time, and let us put some focus there and put out some, targets to say, hey, March of every year, we're going to make sure that it's a underwear drive because they've worn their ones out that they got at Christmas.
And Kathy does a good job putting on Facebook too, a needs list of toiletries, underwear, socks, thermal wear, and so she gets a huge response out of that too. The start of the school year is very important because when a lot of our parents are embarrassed to say, I need help, I need clothes, I need food. So we've started to do a back to school bash we started in Gallatin. We want to go out to all of the areas in the community to kind of open that door, and it kind of helps draw families in because we're giving away stuff to everybody, not just those that need it. Everybody gets stuff. So of course we're taking their name and information, and that's when they tell us that they're needing more information. We, like I said earlier, most of our kids just want to be like the rest of their kids. If you think about when we start school, You get new clothes, you get your shiny shoes, you get a new backpack, you get your hair cut real cute. Well, these kids don't get that. So we're trying to get more volunteers to do haircuts at these bashes, where everybody gets a free haircut, not just those that need it. If you want the haircut, you get it. We had one at Schaefer, and it was the most precious thing to see this girl finally get a real cute haircut. She had just the, I think her parent had been cutting her hair. And the look on her face, we have a picture of it, it's priceless, how she felt about that. And that, transfers over into the classroom. When their confidence is up, they feel like their peer, they feel better. It's like the saying, if you dress to impress or you dress to, same thing with our students. So start a school year, and then we can give y'all updates of our needs, so you can communicate that to your.
I think that would be great. And if I could just ask that, like, maybe in July or so of every year, if we could just have that reminder of, these are the types of things, hey, school is coming. I know we're busy, and, some of us are blessed that we can go on vacations and do different things, and then you're like, oh, school's next week. And like I said, we are doing things for other kids, but it is not these kids' fault that they're in the positions that they're in. And I feel like the Lord has blessed many of us to provide and to love on kids for things that are not their fault.
Right.
So if I can just ask personally, I would love to just kind of have a reminder come late June, maybe early July, hey, this is going on, because I would love to help, specifically for that, to make sure that those kids are coming to school and they are ready and they're excited, and that there doesn't have to be that embarrassment or shame.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd love to. And I could either do that in person or via email, however you want me to communicate that.
Whichever is easiest, best.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Mr. Wise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Daniels, for the kind words. When I first got on this board 13 years ago, there wasn't a Family Resource Center. Probably a year or so later, we started the process of the Family Resource Center. We were thrilled to be able to have it and to do with it what is now being done with it. I want to thank you all in your department for what you do. I will tell you, you are changing lives. You may not know it now, but 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, you will have changed lives. That's how important it is. Back when I first found out that we were getting the resource center and the work that it was going to do, I realized I had 3 heroes. And it wasn't Andy Brown. It was Mike Shelton, Mary Jo Monette, and Keisha Ray. I'm going to revise that, my heroes. I'm going to keep Keisha Ray on there.
She's mine.
But you and Miss Kathy, the other 2 have retired. So anyway, you and Miss Kathy are replacing the other 2 as my 3 heroes. Thank you so much for what you do, and not just what you do, but how you do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wise. One final thing from me. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Popman.
It's okay. I just wanted to interject. I want to agree with everything that everyone has said, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you're doing. And Kathy, I know that I brought some things out to you, and I'm a member of some other organizations that hopefully we're going to be able to bring some more things to you, so I'll be in touch with that. So I appreciate everything that you do. I grew up as a child of Salvation Army officers, so I saw this as a child. So you're a gift to mankind to help these children. And then as an adult, I helped with homeless veterans for 20 years. So I appreciate all that you do. And give me a yell if you need anything, because I'm there for you. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
I wanted to know the Facebook ID.
It's the Sumner Schools, your Facebook page.
Oh, it's not personal.
It is your personal page?
It's just under Kathy Graff, right? Yeah.
It's under what?
For some reason, I thought it was under Sumner Schools.
Well, oh, we do have our own
Oh,
website.
yeah.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I asked my friends for things on Facebook. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's under the Sumner.
Yes, it's under Sumner County Schools.
Sumner County Schools.
Family Resource Center. I'm sorry.
That's how we get the community. Yes, she does ask like personal things from friends, but if a community member, if they saw it, it's on the Sumner County Schools Facebook
Okay.
Family Resource Center.
Well, thank you
webpage.
very much.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Okay, if I may, I want
Ms. Brown,
to,
Ms.
okay,
Butler?
I'm sorry. Kathy, I want to mention one more thing. Jack Anderson, I don't know if they've been in touch with you. Have they been in touch with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're a project for them, so,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bachman. Is that all? Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Would you come and speak at my sales meeting at my real estate office?
Sure. What's the day? When is it? If Dr. Phillips will let me off, I'll come to that.
Well, I've got a friend in high places. I think we can talk to him about that. How do I get in touch with you to arrange that?
Melanie.Webster at sumnerschools.org. Or my office number is 615-451-5409.
Okay.
You can tell me and I can tell her.
I can do that. I can do that.
Short circuit all day.
I think it would be really good if you could do that.
Okay.
We at our office, we have adopted the resource center.
Right.
And we don't send near enough stuff. And I preach and preach and preach, but I don't have the stories and the statistics that you have. And I think it's very powerful.
Sure.
And I think
Love
we could
to.
ignite that and possibly even get it out of my office and into some of the realtors themselves. So, and get the whole real estate community involved. So,
Great.
so we'd be
Yes,
we'd be
I would
glad
love
do
to
that.
speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Kathy. I've got shirts to bring you. I'll bring you some shirts.
So many of you have helped us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna tell you what, if that don't light your fire, your wood's wet. Okay, now, new business, discussion and interaction regarding the 2022-2023 high school curriculum guide. Mr. Langford.
Well, Mr. Brewer, I first have to give a hat tip to you for that one. I get accused of using Southern expressions and country expressions all the time, but I think that easily makes the list. Yeah, I'm actually going to take that, Mr. Brewer, and use it wherever I can. I like that. I think Christy Wall and Bobby Kane are going to come and share with you. Really, this year we don't have anything really major that's changing on the curriculum guide, but we do have some exciting things that they're going to give you the highlights of in just a second. But I thought it would be nice to know, because a curriculum guide doesn't necessarily capture what really the document is. The curriculum guide, we have the State Board of Education, the Tennessee Department of Education, the Tennessee State Legislature, that all make laws and rules that affect public school education. That happens over the course of the year, sometimes even after school starts. Like one year they changed all the course codes for courses the third week of August, and then we had to go back in and fix it on our student data system so that it would code properly for the state. So there are a lot of moving parts. We have kids moving in from all over the country that come with various different curricula and courses that they've taken, and our principals, assistant principals, and guidance counselors have to take that and translate that into what we do in Sumner County in Tennessee. And so, when we started this journey about 4 years ago, we had a document that had all the information, but it was somewhat unwieldy. And they have, over the course of the last couple of years, really produced a document. The goal was to have something that could be used easily and consistently by our counselors, by our scheduling assistant principals, by our principals, to answer questions, and to have it in language that's, as JJ likes to point out, sometimes in instruction we speak an incomprehensible language. And so to take that and to put it into language that's understandable and that communicates easily. And so, you know, we don't really want to give JJ credit for this, but he did give some helpful guidance on it. But yeah, but anyway, I'm going to turn it over because Christy and Bobby have led this committee over the last couple months to get us to where we are and to share some of the highlights of what we're looking at moving forward. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you, Mr. Langford. Chairman Brewer, thank you for having us on the agenda for this evening. For those of you that don't know, this is Bobby Kane. She is new to the instruction department team as the counselor coordinator. She works with K-12 counselors across our district. As you just heard from Melanie's presentation, there are a lot of needs in every single one of our buildings and across the district. So she serves in central coordination of those counselors. But tonight we're going to highlight our committee work together on the curriculum guide and the planning guidance document that you all have in front of you for the 2022-2023 school year. As we introduce the committee that served in this capacity, you can see all of the different representation. We try and pull, as Mr. Langford had mentioned, principals from across the district, assistant principals from across the district, school counselors, and central office and instructional department representation. I secretly tell this group this is my favorite committee to work with each and every year. They're so fun. It's a great group of individuals, very innovative in their leadership and their desire to do and see more done for our high school students in the academic realm. So this is a great collaborative endeavor. And again, all areas of our district are represented. So to touch on the purpose, the objective, and the equity and access of the specific curriculum guide document is highlighted as such. Obviously, the purpose is to provide guidance. Mr. Langford mentioned we have to check state board policy, TDOE regulations, and our own local board policies just to ensure that we are in fact following all regulations and guidance to ensure that our students are ready for graduation when it's time that they leave us after 4 years. The objective, again, is to follow those regulations, but then also maximize opportunities. We're going to talk about 4 areas of maximizing opportunities that we feel are of direct benefit to our students across the district as we look forward into the next school year. And also, just in the vein of access, we want to respond effectively to the diverse populations and needs all over our county. Again, this is a district guidance document, but is internalized by each and every one of our high schools and our enhanced option programs. It's hard to set things in concrete stone that applies for every school across the county. So we're simply providing guidance around regulation and policy. That's what we consider best practices for our high schools. So Bobby's going to share about our first area of enhancement, which is the AP Access Project.
Thank you, Christy. One of the things that I want to talk about is area number 1 of our 4 big goals that we kind of took to the committee this year. And one of this was expanding AP access opportunities for schools throughout the district. We wanted to make sure that we included in this curriculum guide an opportunity for every single student. So some of the highlights of this project is that advanced placement classes, typical AP College Board classes, provide students with the opportunity to earn college credit at the high school level. So while they're earning their diploma, they can also be earning college credit that will in turn provide a lot of tuition savings possibly down the road. This year we have added 13 AP courses throughout the district through this AP Access project, and this has allowed students to have access to AP courses that are not currently available at their school. This school year, 81 students across the district are taking advantage of these additional offerings. So we're pretty excited about it. These are 6 Sumner County educators throughout our district that have spent the last year creating an online virtual course. These are teachers that are highly esteemed in their area. They're great AP teachers at their home school, and they have a passion for advanced placement classes. And they've seen over the years, over their career, the value that this coursework gives to the students and the just the opportunity that it gives them outside of high school, beyond in college. So these are 6 of our teachers currently that have created coursework that they will be teaching. They will be starting their first classes January 5th in the spring. And like I said, we have a lot of students that are going to be sitting virtually in these classes with these teachers throughout the spring. So we're really, really excited and really thankful for these teachers. We're hoping to get to introduce you to them sometime soon.
Priority area number 2 focuses on reducing barriers for at-risk students. You can find specific policy and guidance referenced on page 10 that addresses some of the shifts and changes that have been made to address specific at-risk students that are coming into our high schools to ensure that they are in fact capable and able to graduate on time. Some of these guidance areas is information that is provided when students are enrolling with no academic records. It's difficult to place students without an academic historical track record or academic records from either another state or country perhaps. Also, there's language in the guide that supports transient students that might be coming into our district for enrollment and then have already been to 3 other districts during the course of this school year, just to provide guidance to our guidance counselors as these students and families are coming into our district for enrollment. Also, there is some course placement suggestions that are provided and pathways for successful completion that's pertinent to our students who are acquiring English as a second language. So those are just some guidance reference points to help reduce the barriers that might be problematic for students to finish 4 years of high school, given some at-risk scenarios and situations that they're coming to us with.
Another pertinent area that we kind of just really looked closely at this year. Over the last 6 months, I've got to spend a lot of time in the high schools, particularly surrounding their registration teams. And we've been doing a lot of focusing on that middle to high school transition, particularly that 8th to 9th grade year. And so the committee took this opportunity to figure out how we can create an even more purposeful plan of study going into high school, and really making sure that students and parents feel like they have a good plan going into high school. So you guys can refer to the exhibit, page 72, in the curriculum guide. A couple of things that we did to highlight this transition is we added middle school representation to the committee. So we added a middle school principal. We also had several counselors on the committee that have been middle school counselors in the past, so they're they have a unique experience with that transition piece. We also added a unique 4-year academic plan. One thing I noticed when I was going to all of the different schools and meeting with the registration teams is that we were all meeting these needs. We were all creating this 4-year plan in one way or another. And so we as a committee, we put these efforts together and created one unique plan that every school will be using. We'll be starting with our rising 9th graders this year. And so as students if they transfer to another school within the district, that plan will follow them, and it will be language that the counselors at the next school will be able to understand and will be able to transfer very, very easily. Within this 4-year academic plan, our goal was to create really proactive communication to families that support that registration course selection process. We wanted to include parents in that academic progress annually. So one of the pieces within this plan is, and within the state board policy, is that we review this annually. And counselors and students were reviewing it annually, but there were some pieces that we wanted to really make sure that we highlight. And that might be, are they on track for their academic recognition that they set out for in 8th grade? Their elective focus, their program of study, do they want to edit that? Do they want to change that? Have they maybe taken a class that they want to expand in and go deeper into? So every single year, that counselor sits down with the student and the parent, and they can edit that, they can adjust it, or maybe they decide we're on the right track and we want to keep going, and then they will notate that every single year. And then they will also, every parent and student will get a copy of that every year after the registration appointment. And then we also are highlighting within that plan the graduation requirements, elective opportunities, the Hope Scholarship requirements, a lot of other stuff that you can see in the exhibit, to make sure that every single year the students are getting the same information, just as a firm reminder of what they have left and what their goals are.
Okay, and area number 4 that we wanted to pay particular attention and especially highlight is continued programming enhancements in CTE. We are so excited with the advancements and things that Chase Moore, our supervisor of STEM and CTE, has in the works. You can reference the CTE section in the curriculum guide, starting on pages 31 through 70. I told him next year he's going to have to cut it down a few pages. He's really stretching out there with how much of the curriculum guide is dedicated to their courses. But anyways, in saying that, obviously there are additional elective pathways being added to next year's curriculum guide. We're also working on expanding dual credit opportunities for students that are on CTE pathways. There's also been an addition of 55 different honors level courses in CTE coursework. Those numbers are up from 42 last year. So we're excited to work through those and offer those for each individual school that has sought out to offer those CTE courses at an honors level for those electives. And then also increasing Vol State and TCAP partnerships. We've got really exciting things going on with both of those partners. And then also his work with expanding the advisory council that he uses for CTE and community partnership benefits, such as internships, externships, work and labor force demands, really studying the area to see what employers need, and so we can respond appropriately in providing CTE pathways and programming for our students. So in summation, just to look at a quick timeline, obviously this is something that we try and do every year, every December. We've tried to build this into our annual process in terms of getting the curriculum guide ready for next year. It's hard to believe that this semester and this year is almost over and getting ready already, plans moving forward for next school year. But essentially, our buildings would like this information so they can start their registration efforts as soon as we get our curriculum guide set and approved with you all's review. Then they immediately take it into registration mode and begin registering upperclassmen, and you can see the way that the timeline works through. Obviously, Mr. Langford mentioned that TSB likes to update their policies in July. They presume that July is a slow time for all of us, and yet we look at all of those updates and we respond to those changes as needed, depending on how soon they apply. So just know that, the highlights in yellow that are in the curriculum guide are responsive to some of those policy updates and reflect some minor content changes. But for the most part, the curriculum guide really stayed intact, and no major changes, but we did want to highlight these 4 areas of major improvement that we're really excited about offering and communicating out to our buildings as they begin planning and prep work for next school year.
Thank you. And I just want to add, I want to emphasize one thing to the 55 honors CTE courses. I know one of the struggles when I was a principal was that your kids that follow one of our 25 CTE pathways were left out. I mean, if you go into the CTE classes, you see that they are performing at a high level, every bit the same level of honors that we see in English and math, but it really left them on the outside looking in on things like valedictorian and things like that. As more of those CTE dual enrollment and then honors classes come to bear, it gives our kids that are really achieving at a high level across the curricula the opportunity to shine and receive the recognition that they deserve. And I think that's really an exciting thing that Chase Moore and our team have worked on to honor the work that they do.
Mr. Gregory.
I just want to say thank you. The curriculum that I'm sure that you have developed with the honors classes, the AP classes, dual enrollment, I can personally say from a family situation that students may, I only use the word may, be able to graduate in 3 years from college. That's very important. Isn't it, Mr. Langford?
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you.
Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, thank you. I've just got a couple of questions, comments real quick. I know there are some questions about the high school curriculum guide earlier from one of our speakers. I wish she was here to see this presentation because I think it would have answered a lot of the questions that she had. But one of the things that I appreciated was the beginning of this presentation, you mentioned the committee members. And I think the word you used was committee work. And I think that's important because, you know, this document is not a document that was created in the dark of night with some secret agenda in an effort to indoctrinate kids, right? It's something that we've had for a long time. In fact, I think, Mr. Langford, you said we've had it, what, 4-5 years now?
We've had it a long time.
I think we've discussed a curriculum guide and voted on it at least the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Way longer than that.
Yeah, and you know, in fact, you know, it mentioned that this thing was like 98, 99 pages long. About 60 of those pages are just a list of all the course that we offer. So if there's any questions about what's being taught, I mean, you can see it all right there. But that being said, you know, I'd mentioned that there's about 60 pages of course lists and forms and letters and other things that are listed there. But the first 30 pages, which is the text, how much of that is stuff that we created based on county regulations? I mean, what I looked at and what I read, it's just pulling together a lot of the stuff from all the different state regulations that are out there, whether it's our state law, our legislature rules they pass, graduation guidelines, valedictorians. I mean, that's not stuff that we came up with. That's stuff that the state and these regulating bodies came up with. How much of it is stuff from those groups, and how much of it is stuff that we just decide as a county, here's other stuff that we want to put in this guide?
Yeah, I think some of it is low. The vast, overwhelming majority is things that come to us as part of our, and you know, and I would argue it's committee work that's taking place across the state. I think one of the things that Tennessee has done really successfully is to think about things like CTE and STEM education and pushing our kids to achieve at higher levels in academics. And so a lot of that is reflected through initiatives that have taken place at the state board, TDOE, and then have come to us. I think that some of the local flavor things that we add is sometimes we write special courses that are unique to a specific school that meet the needs of the school. But the overwhelming number of percentage of the actual curriculum guide is you know, it's really like the hard thing as a principal or a school counselor is that you don't have the time to go to every state board meeting and check the documents to see what's been approved or taken out. The same thing with what comes down, you know, each week the Department of Education releases a newsletter that is probably about 12 to 15 pages that sometimes, not always, but sometimes has things that affect our curricular offerings. So, you know, you have to have a team of people work together to put that together and then to make sure that it's constantly updated and usable. And I think that's what our committee has really done a tremendous job of doing. But yeah, the overwhelming majority is probably things that come from the state in terms of guidance towards graduation.
So Bridge Mathematics, that was mentioned, and it's designed for students that have an ACT score under 19. What's the point of Bridge Math, and why students under 19? How does it benefit them?
So kids that score below a 19 in math on the ACT do not qualify to take 4-credit math classes in college. So the idea of the bridge is to bridge from high school to college, and it's to give them special attention and focus so that they don't have to take remedial classes when they go to college. If you remember, probably 10 or 15 years ago, there were a lot of stories out about how many kids went to college and paid for years to take remedial courses, and not a one of them counted towards college credit. Our goal is always to move as close as we can to 100% of our students not having to take remedial classes when they get to college. So the bridge is a bridge to the future of the student to be able to achieve in college. That's the bridge.
Thank you. Then a couple other things that I wanted to mention is, you know, if you look at the committee assignments, there's a lot of counselors that are involved in this. And I just want to point out that, you know, a lot of times when I think about counselors, especially at the elementary level, you think of a guidance counselor and you think of Just Say No, right? And the DARE program and all that kind of stuff. Can you talk about what counselors actually do at the high school level? It's not, you know, obviously we don't want kids to do drugs and all that kind of stuff. Red Ribbon Week, all that good stuff. But what's the goal? What do counselors do at the high school level and why are they so involved in this curriculum?
Mr. Downs, I'm going to jump in just for a second. I want to set the stage for the January study session. because Bobby is going to lay out everything that she does as counselor coordinator, and we'll talk a lot about what counselors are doing now.
Just high level then, we'll get the rest in January.
Okay. Yes. So I will say, like, I have my this year's copy of the curriculum guide sitting under my chair, and it's like tattered and has like notes and stickies sticking out, because it's something that as a high school counselor you take with you everywhere. It's like you refer to it all the time, because every student, I mean, one of the things that we started talking about with like the eliminating barriers and some of these different opportunities for your plan. We have so many students that are moving, as Melanie mentioned, that are moving throughout the year. I mean, I'm getting calls right now with students that are transferring into high school right now, like this week, and the semester is almost over. And so we have so many unique situations of student needs, particularly, I'm speaking academically right now, on top of just the social emotional needs. So you've got academic needs coming in. So as a counselor, you've got to figure out how to get every single student to graduate in 4 years. And every single student is coming in from somewhere. They might be on a 7-period day or an 8-period day. They earned half a credit, or maybe a lot of them are coming in right now that have not earned any credits because they're moving here from an 8-period day school, and they don't earn their credit till May, where they're not on block scheduling. So we have a lot of that right now, and that's where the curriculum guide is really, really helpful. And we get in there and we figure, what can we offer these kids? How can we make sure that we're giving every student the same opportunity as the student right next to them, even if they just moved in. So we start there. They come in, we meet with them, we try to figure out how to get them to graduation in 4 years, whenever that is coming for them. And then on top of that, just as a high school counselor, what high school counselors do is not only is it a lot of transcript work, a lot of just that academic, a lot of at-risk, meeting with a lot of students that are at risk of not graduating. So meeting with them, pulling in their families, making sure that we're adapting mid-year to figure out how can we still get them to graduate. And then just the needs, as Melanie was mentioning, I mean, all of the needs that we see with our students, their mental health needs. I mean, I tell principals all the time, you have a certified graduate level mental health professional in your building. You have every school has at least one, and thankfully at our high schools we have even more than that. And they not only do they spend so much time balancing that academic work, but they really for a lot of them, they're at the front lines of meeting our students' mental health needs, particularly this year. And all of those needs are so different, and so we work together. We talk together a lot as a group. That's why I'm not going to get too much into this, because I'm going to talk to you all next month. But that's why I'm really, really thankful to be in this position to get to help coordinate some of those efforts. Because a lot of times we as counselors can feel like we're the only ones dealing with this crazy situation. I don't know how to meet this need, or I'm just going to go to my fellow counselors within my school. But we're all kind of in that same boat, so we do a lot of that. So a lot of mental health, a lot of academic, and I'm sure I'm missing 100 things that they're going to catch me on later, but that's kind of the big stuff.
Thank you, and that I think that's important, because you kind of talk about the academic side and the mental side, or the social side. From an academic side, the diversity of students. We are probably one of the most diverse counties in the state. From an economic standpoint, from a social standpoint, from a racial standpoint, in our different schools, and that's why the CT programs and I think the AP offerings that we have are so important. Having counselors that can help the students figure out, what do you want to do post graduation? Is it a career? Is it a technical degree? And helping guide them so that when they do graduate, they don't have to take remedial courses if they're in college, or they've got those AP classes they've taken to help them, even be a little bit ahead when it comes to the classes. Or on the CT side, getting the certification so they're taking the classes that prepare them to succeed. So thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. There's a lot of really good stuff here, and coming from the first curriculum you probably saw, it's amazing how many more offerings are available to our students. And I know I mentioned this a couple of months ago, but even with all the additional offerings and all the other programs, everything works to help our students improve, and our test scores from ACT to graduation rates continue to go up as well. And I think this is one of the reasons for that.
Mr. Daniels, let me jump back. I want to tell a quick story. It's from your previous question about some of the local imprint on the curriculum guide. So if you remember last year, I remember it this way at a board meeting, Dr. Phillips and Mr. Wilkerson were having a conversation about AP offerings, and out of that was born the AP pilot. And Jeff Yon took that and went out and recruited our 6 teachers. And I mean, I'm really excited to get them in this spring so y'all can get to talk to them, because, you know, like Mr. Phillips is retired. Dr. Phillips is retired, and he's coming back out of retirement to teach a group of virtual AP students this spring music theory. And think about, not that, no, it would be a very different course. I feel like it would be a different type of music with Jeff Phillips. But you know, what's been really exciting is to see how that's grown. And so after the courses were prepared and the teachers are fired up about it, as we had the signups, one of the things that became immediately available, because we offered them this year to get our feet wet and to work out the kinks in the courses, we didn't do them for credit this year, but then we discovered kids that take a math or an English AP course still have to take their regular math or English course because they're taking it not for credit. So the committee addressed this. Dr. Becker, a few others that were in that group, they just immediately worked it out, and it's in the curriculum guide for next year, so those kids can take those classes for credit. And I mean, it's just like, you know, it just shows if you get the right people at the table and they're working towards, you know, to Mr. Wise's point, what's best for our kids, then we can really move mountains to open up access for our kids so that, you know, all of our kids are getting access to great coursework from some of the best teachers. If you look at that group of 6 teachers, we're partnering with TDOE for some other courses that we couldn't prepare. Our kids are going to have an amazing opportunity in the future for AP courses across the county. And that shows the local imprint on our curriculum guide. And that came out of the work of out of the school board to us, then to the committee, and then back to y'all. It's really exciting work.
Thank you. I've got one point or a question for you, Mr. Chairman. Have we made a motion to approve this yet? Could I make that motion? Approve? I'd like to make that motion.
We might as well finish the discussion now.
All right, I didn't know if we need to make a motion before we discuss, so.
We're already discussing.
Okay, all right.
Ms. Andrews to go, and
I'll second his motion.
But as soon as Ms. Andrews is done, I'll entertain that motion. Thank you.
First, I just want to say welcome to Miss Kane. I've heard your name and accolades about you for quite some time, and so it's great to finally put a face with a name. And definitely glad to have you on board and to kind of spearhead. I know that was a position that we desperately needed throughout our county, and I've heard that from counselors, not just at the high school level, but from elementary and up, that they kind of needed. They're special in their own regards and have special needs, and so to have somebody that one contact person and so forth that can help them. So I'm definitely glad to have you on board and looking forward to hearing more from you in January. I just want to say thank you to yourself and everyone who worked on this curriculum guide. It is incredible. It has a lot of information in it, and kind of to go by talking about Mr. Johnson and talking about how sometimes there's certain languages, and that's one thing I've have talked to numerous people, I think, within our system, is that sometimes we know what we're talking about, but that doesn't mean that our parents know what we're talking about. And I feel like so many things within this curriculum guide are clearly spelled out to say, this is what dual enrollment is, this is what dual credit is, and AP, and all of those things. It is overwhelming. It dawned on me this year I will have 3 students I get to register for high school classes this year. If y'all see me in the fetal position, I'll be fine. I will be fine eventually. I'm ecstatic about the 4-year plan. That is fabulous, and it is so clear. It makes so much sense. I love the fact that it's going to be reviewed every year. I love that it just makes sense. I love with the CTEs that it shows progression, and so forth. My question that I do have is, obviously this is done, it is done so well, and it has so much information. But then how does this get to parents? Because one of the things that I have seen, like I said, from registering for the last couple of years, is that not all of our high school curriculum guides are the same. As a matter of fact, I don't know that any of them are the same. And sometimes I have to go to multiple ones to get all the information that I'm looking for, and I know where to go to get it. Are we working on streamlining those and making sure, is this the information she's given us in January, Mr. Langford? I'm like, I see the look all over your face. But I'm hoping that that's what you're going to say, because I feel like that with this information, we need to make sure all of our parents have it.
Yes.
That's what we're doing in January. Perfect. Perfect. I think, like I said, I think it's great, and I know our parents will appreciate it. And for it to be consistent across our county, where the information that our kids at Gallatin, what they're looking at, and the kids at Hendersonville, and the kids, you know, at Beach and Station Camp, like, it's not different. Obviously, courses are not all the same, because that does, you know, there is differences within the county, but the core information as far as what is required, what opportunities do we have, how do you access this, all of those things need to be consistent. So I'm glad to hear that it's going to be.
Yeah, and I think, Ms. Andrews, I think that as the curriculum guide has become more streamlined, it makes it easier for high schools to be able to make those adjustments to theirs. And I think the common language, and I know I won't steal too much thunder because Bobby will address some of this next month, but that's the goal to work through. It takes a little bit of time, but having common documents and common forms and common language makes that so much easier to do. And I'm really excited to see the work that's already taken place, and the transition work is really powerful. Even Miss Averett at Hawkins and Mr. Cripps at Ellis have started some One Hendersonville things, and that's to bring the community together, but it's also to help those kids transition into Hendersonville High School, believing that they're part of one school, and that's really starting to take off around the county. We're seeing it in Gallatin, we're seeing it in White House, we're seeing it in Portland, Westmoreland, everywhere in the county. That's really starting to happen. It's really exciting.
Ms. Andrews, Ms. Brown?
We've had all the schools have had the same curriculum guide forever that I know of. Because I actually have a master's in that, so I was aware of that. Your courses have to be different because you don't offer the same courses in every school, but the rules are the same. Everything else is the same.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Any further discussion? We're doing it backwards, but any further discussion? Ms. Hayes?
Thank you, Chairman Brewer. Welcome, Ms. Kane. Great job tonight, Ms. Wall. Thank you. Great curriculum. Got a quick question. The meeting with the parents, the student, in this updating year by year, mapping out that plan, what ballpark figure, what is the ratio of the counselor to the student in our 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, as you're journeying with them for those years?
So I think so it varies by school, obviously.
Sure.
Our largest schools right now are sitting at 1 to a little over 400, or right at 400. So we have some are a little bit less, and most of our schools divided up based on alphabet, so the counselor can stay with the student 9th through 12th grade. Gallatin has a freshman counselor, and then they transition on. So there's a couple different models, but our largest schools, that's about where they're sitting at. So a little bit less at some of the smaller, but that's
1 to 400.
Yeah, 1
Somewhere
to anywhere from about 325 to a little over 4.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Daniels, second by Ms. Andrews. There is no more discussion, so all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it very much. Next item on the agenda is discussion and interaction regarding amendments to the general purpose budget. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Duncan, second by Mr. Did you say? Yes, Mr. Wilkerson. Any discussion? Seeing none, so all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, discussion and interaction regarding amendments to the federal budget. Motion approved by Mr. Wise, second by Ms. Hayes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion of study session items. which won't be till January.
As Mr. Langford previewed several times, Ms. Kane will be returning to talk about guidance counselors, and our next study session is January 11th.
All right. Thank you very much. January 11th. All right, next item on the agenda is comment from board members, and we'll start with Ms. Hayes this time.
Thank you, Chairman Brewer. I'll give a shout out to Huntersville High School Commandos. We almost made it to the state, but it was a great run, and we had many schools in this county who got down there to the playoffs, and so it was a tough loss, but just wanted to give them a shout out. Great job this year. Because we are running late, I was going to read, the kindergarten teacher in me was going to read, okay, it's a Southern thing, this is a Southern night before Christmas, y'all. And they do a series of books, but, and the illustrations are just, I mean, Santa Claus is in flip-flops. It's just the cutest thing. But the very last page, y'all know Twas the Night Before Christmas, and I'd love to just read this and just show you the pictures. So this is my grandchildren. The last page is before we could utter, "You're welcome to stay," Santa was suddenly back in his sleigh. As he flew overhead, he exclaimed in delight, "Blessed Christmas to y'all, and to y'all a good night." It's got so many Southern, it's not proper English, but this is the cutest book. Well, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Ms. Bachman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've had an exceptional meeting tonight. Had some wonderful information. And thank everyone that has worked on all of the projects that we heard about tonight. We started with the Merrill Hyde wonderful thing, got to Melanie's issues, and then again to the new school board, the high school curriculum, vast areas. I wanted to give one shout out. I meant to do this last month and I didn't do it, Norma. You group, we got the Project Search Special Education Award. Excellent Employment Outcome Award for placing 70 to 90% of students in the workforce. And I think that is absolutely amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope to get our Project Welch program up here one night, if we can convince a couple of the students to come up and speak. I heard them speak last year at their graduation, so I think we could convince some of them to come up. But that's a great award in project searches across the United States, and we won this award because we placed so many kids out in the workforce.
Thank you so much. We're looking forward to that. And Merry Christmas to all. And Friday, our thoughts will be with you, Mr. Wilkerson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bachman. Ms. Andrews?
Yeah, I would just like to give a shout out to our school SROs. I feel like sometimes, those people who do their job well and run under the radar, they don't get acknowledged like they should. But as we all know, within the last couple of weeks, there's a tragedy within our country. And as that began to unfold, and as more information has come out and so forth, all I could think about is not that, obviously we can't say that would never happen in Sumner County, but I feel confident in the way in which that particular incident would be handled very differently within our county. I have seen the seriousness of when something has been addressed with a principal, how they immediately will go to their SRO, and how our SROs will handle things seriously, and they will do home visits, and they will thoroughly investigate an incident until they know with all certainty that we do not have students in danger. And so I just really appreciate that partnership that we have with Sumner County Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Weatherford, and all of our SROs. I know recently we've had some schools who have gotten new SROs because they've gone through the training process. I know that was something that we discussed several years ago. I think we got a grant and so forth, and we've worked diligently to continue to get those people trained and get them in our schools. And so I just want to give a shout out to them and just say how thankful I am for just the work that they do and the influence that they have within our community. And Merry Christmas. It's crazy to think it's December. Like, Christmas is in like 2 weeks. But, Mr. Wilkerson, prayers to you. You're going to do great.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see you in January.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. Mr. Nuckin?
I don't have much more to say. I vented a while ago, so I do want to congratulate Hendersonville. Beach had the opportunity to play them twice this year, so I'm going to work out something so we can have a battle of the 37075. And it was a great opportunity to be able to do that twice, and I want to congratulate you again on that win for the second time. As painful as that is to admit. The only thing else I've got, Mr. Chairman, is Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Nuckin. Mr. Daniels?
Yeah, I'd also like to echo congratulations to Hendersonville. We got to play Hendersonville twice first. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I guess we all got to play Hendersonville twice. But congratulations, a great year, and our counties really represented themselves well throughout the playoffs, not just in that division, but I know White House and some of our other schools had some great years too. The SRO, I was kind of thinking some of the same things. As those events were unfolding. And it's important to remember that our SROs are employed by our sheriff's department. So when we're talking about investigating, it's not our SRO in the school that's going out and doing all this. It's in partnership with our police departments because that's one of the things that I think we do a great job of. If there's an event that occurs, it's not the school's responsibility. We don't go out of our way to investigate. We bring in the people that know how to do that to help us find the answers and the solutions. So thank you. It's hard to believe that it's almost the end of a semester, but it's here. And also, I think it's important, Mr. Langford, congratulations on your recognition. As the one of our best in the state. So congratulations there. And I'll just end with this. I just want to clarify something, a comment I made earlier. We had a speaker that was here earlier, and I commented about her not being here. I will never judge anybody for leaving if they have to leave. It takes a lot to be here. And I really appreciate anybody that's willing to come out here and stand at that podium and take time to share their thoughts. We as a board, and they might not always agree with us, but I respect anybody that's willing to do that. There's a lot of people in our community that will sit at a computer and jump on social media and type something out and post it on 8 or 9, 10 different pages. But it takes guts to come up here and actually stand in front of a group and share your feelings. So I really appreciate when we have those individuals come and share their thoughts with us. And I hopefully that when they ask those questions, we're able to get them the answers they need. So with that being said, Merry Christmas. And
thank you, Mr. Daniels. Mr. Wise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My wife gave me instructions. Do not just say ditto, so I won't. I will say congratulations, Mr. Langford. Well deserved. Proud of you. Merry Christmas to all.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Ms. Brown?
My thoughts are, I'll congratulate you, Scott. Wonderful. I mean, it's so impressive. And it's so impressive about the volleyball girls. I mean, that's amazing. Anytime you can get the whole state, you are really at the top. So, and I have, Scott, now here's the bad news. I have notes on both sides of my sticky that I want to know about in the curriculum guide. So you'll be seeing me soon or hearing from me, because I didn't want to hold this up any longer. And it's not anything that would prevent it from being passed. And let's see, there was something else I wanted to bring up. Forgotten what that is, so I'll just say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Gregory?
Well, I think White House actually represented our county pretty well, as hard as it is for me to say.
They did.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
they did. And Beach did, and of course, Hendersonville did. Now, let me mention one thing about Hendersonville. They won over South Warren, Kentucky this year. Now that's important to me because my granddaughter goes there. And that is the only game that South Warren lost all year alone, and I mean all year,
Wow.
they won the state championship. And Hendersonville, I did not see the game, but my daughter was texting me throughout the game. I guess I was probably for South Warren, to be honest with you. Because my granddaughter is on the dance team. And they finished third in the state Saturday. And I was thinking when they're going over all the curriculum here, that I feel like their curriculum at that school is similar to what we have here. It's a very, I'm not sure if any of you have ever seen that school, but it's not very far, really. It's about 25, it's about the same distance from my house as Hendersonville is. Very nice, very comprehensive, offer a lot of things. And also, in the world of sports, Dr. Phillips, have you heard about Ole Miss today?
I haven't. My day's been full of a lot of stuff, but Ole Miss is not one of them.
You hadn't heard a word?
Not a word. What'd they do? On probation again?
Now, you know who told me this. I imagine that Lane Kiffin was in line to leave to go to Oregon.
No idea.
Me either.
I think in the last 10 days, he's been leaving to go to about 8 different places.
His name comes up every.
Yep, that's right.
He'll do it if he
And
can.
Mr. Chairman, do you think Alabama's gonna go to the playoff?
Do I think they're gonna go to the playoffs? Roll doggone tide, buddy, I'm telling you.
That was the debate all last week. Would they go? Would they go if they lost? I enjoyed that game. I really did.
You done?
He's done.
He's done.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Mr. Wilkerson, he'll turn his light off in a minute.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a great day. It started out this morning with a birthday party for one of the instructors at Westmoreland who was turning 80. And she's still going strong. Not only has she taught several generations, but she taught history when I was in school. And then she went into the librarian position and had an influence on my children. I think they said that she had taught 4 generations of students, but it was a good day. I'm probably more excited about all the new courses that's being added because I think it will affect our school in Westmoreland more than any of the other schools, because it's going to open up a whole new avenue for our students to learn and get opportunities that they would not have had. Congratulations. Thank you for your presentations. Merry Christmas, and keep me in your prayers and thoughts on Friday. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Wilkerson. I will for sure keep you in my thoughts and prayers. You're gonna do fine. I wanna say congratulations, Mr. Langford. When I saw that, I was so proud, but I was not surprised. He's just the best. I mean, we've got some of the best people in the state that's working right here for us, and it's just a pleasure to have you guys. I want to make a vow to you that I will not call Dr. Phillips anymore before the meeting and say, are we going to have a short meeting today? Because every time I have, it's been 8, 9 o'clock before we get out of here, so I'm not going to ask you that question anymore. That's out. Miss Melanie, Miss Keisha, and Miss Kathy, there was an old gospel song out years ago, and I don't remember who sung it or whatever, but the basis of it was a pastor that had preached all his life and just really didn't feel like he'd reached enough people, and he died and went to the pearly gates, and he said, Lord, I'm so sorry that I didn't get one more. Maybe I could have got a few more. And then the Lord showed him all the faces. And you ladies, when I hope it's a long, long time, but when you cross over those pearly gates, you're going to see a lot of faces that you have helped touch throughout your life and your tenure and what you're doing. Thank you so much for what you're doing. God bless you. Merry Christmas to you all. Happy New Year. And if you go see people that you hadn't seen in a while, hug them. If you love them, tell them. And everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We are adjourned.